Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 25 of Sovereign AF Podcast. I'm your host, Regina, and I'm here with my beautiful co host, Cynthia.
Hey, hi everyone.
And very excited about tonight's episode. We are going to talk about all about health and understanding your body's quantum terrain. And I'm so excited about our guest tonight because she is actually my health coach. So I can speak to about her from my personal experience, but just to kind of summarize a little bit about Ashley, and then I'm going to let her give you a little bit more deeper on her background. But Ashley is trained at the Czech Institute. If you know Paul Chek, if you know anything about health, you've probably heard about Paul Chek. And um, we are very like-minded in our mindset, and in regards to health, we're very like-minded. And I mean, she takes such a well-rounded approach to health. I mean, she literally is like measuring my breathing. So she has me doing all kinds of weird stuff. But she's all about getting to the root cause and actually healing, not just putting band-aids. So Ashley, thank you
Love
so
it.
much for being here with us.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. This is awesome, and I'm happy to share a little bit of what I do and maybe help inspire people with new ideas, new concepts. I love to share resources that I find helpful, and yeah, it's always nice to connect with other groups, communities of similar values and kind of just similar goals in terms of just trying to live our best life.
I'm trying to
Absolutely.
dodge bullets left and right? In this reality.
Yeah.
So, tell us, summarize Ashley, like summarize your background real quick for us.
Sure. So I was born and raised in Canada. I'm still in Canada now. I grew up most of my life on the far, far East Coast, what we call the Maritimes. I now live a little bit more central, although lots of people still think it's east, closer to
Mhm.
Toronto at the moment. So I grew up outdoors, basically. Always just out in nature, playing sports, playing ball, soccer with the boys, neighborhood boys, biking everywhere, just always active. And then in
Mhm.
school, always in sports. And that led me to decide on human kinetics, the study of human movement in university, also known as kinesiology, because I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was good at science and I liked sports, so it seemed like the best option. And I'm glad I did choose that. Not that I necessarily needed it for what I do now, because I've learned far, far more useful stuff from Paul Chek's Czech Institute than I have
Mhm.
in my 4-year degree. And
Mhm.
anyone who goes to Paul Chek's courses says that. Even like a 5-day course, you're like, I learned more in this 5-day course than my 4-year degree. So after university, I got a job, a few jobs, paid off my student loan, and then I took a trip to Scotland to live a very unhealthy life for a year. I lived in Scotland and was a bartender for a year, and
That's
yeah,
cool.
basically did all of the opposite things that I teach now, like
Yeah.
you know, working in the night and sleeping in the day and drinking vodka with Red Bull and just all the wrong things, but it was fun. But 1 year was enough. My liver took enough hit that year. And then I came back to Canada and eventually got started full time at one of our big box gyms here called Good Life. And I was there full time for 6 or 7 years. And then I left there to kind of not go out on my own, but I was self-employed. I ended up at a chiropractic clinic. My chiropractor kind of, convinced me to come work with him, not for him, but with him at the clinic. So I was there for 4 years, and then, which was a great opportunity. it was very different than working at the gym. So at the gym, I was like a personal trainer. So most of my work was fitness based, but whenever you're working with people, well, I suppose unless you're a really one-minded personal trainer, you could only focus on the fitness, but I was interested in all these other things. And why I ended up being interested in these other things was because I was noticing, yeah, like you're saying, everyone is sick. Everyone
Mhm.
has
Yeah.
a laundry list of symptoms they're dealing with from, and even people who are living a fairly healthy life.
Hmm.
And so that kind of, inspired me to learn more, and then just my own life, trying to optimize myself. And while at the gym is when I discovered Paul Chek. And so I started learning, read his book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, and started his courses, his correspondence courses, and then going to CamFit Pro every summer, which is like a big health and fitness conference here in Toronto. And I was lucky enough to go to a bunch of sessions where he was actually there and he was actually presenting, because he doesn't do that anymore. So that's when like my whole world opened up, because yeah, he's kind of
A big
the
deal.
OG of holistic health, and every from athletic performance to physical rehab. So
Hmm.
anything in that spectrum. And yeah, I just fell in love with his system and his teachings. I have other people I learned from as well, but he was kind of my main mentor, my main teacher. Um, and then
And
yeah,
when was that? How long ago was that when you discovered Paul and
uh,
his info?
yeah, well, I started at the gym, I think 2009-ish, and I don't know, maybe 2011, around there,
Wow.
2012. And then I slowly started doing check courses. But if you were to do, well, especially back then, if you were to do his system full time, it would take 7 years to,
Wow.
That's crazy.
yeah. So I'm still only like halfway through, because I've been doing it kind of part time since then.
Hmm.
So it's
Wow.
very comprehensive.
So
Um,
Chastity said I can't hear for some reason. Guys, let me know if anyone else can't hear, or is it just you, Chastity? Let me know in the chat. Hopefully everybody can, because the three of us can hear each other, right?
Yeah.
mhm.
So,
Mhm.
okay. So yeah, let me know. Um, yeah, amazing. That's a long time. 2010, 2011. I mean, wow. That's a long time. Do you want to give like a quick overview? Like I'm talking like summary, like overview of like your style of coaching, all the different things that you incorporate, which I've never seen such a comprehensive coaching. And then we can dive into some topics um, of some of the things that you help people with, I guess. And,
Mhm. Yeah. So with the check system, one of the things that makes us a little bit different is our assessments. We do like a ton of assessments.
Mhm.
So when I'm in person with people, I do a very like a 2 to 3 hour physical exam, which obviously I can't do over Zoom. So that's the one
Mhm.
downside to Zoom sessions, but we can still do all the holistic lifestyle assessments. And it's just to get as much information on, the person as possible, including, talking to the person and just, conversing and finding out your history, because
Mhm.
just because you've had knee pain for 5 years doesn't mean you have a knee problem, right? Or just because you you eat broccoli and your stomach hurts, it doesn't mean that like necessarily the broccoli is the problem. Like there could be, you had you were diagnosed with some infection 2 years prior, and they pumped you full of antibiotics, and now that's led to dysbiosis of the gut, and now you're sensitive to even healthy foods. You know what I mean? Like we have to go back and like get all of the information, get the whole story, to see like what is a root cause problem versus what's a symptom. because so often we're chasing symptoms and we're putting band-aids on symptoms and we're, you know, fixing
Yeah.
the knee problem, but then next thing you know, you got a hip problem, then you got a shoulder
Yep.
problem, like it ping pongs around. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot about get all of the information, and then we start with the basics because
Mhm.
people skip over the basics
Yeah.
because they seem simple, and oftentimes the basics are free and accessible, so people don't put a lot of value to it, right? And then we can expand and, you know, get into a bit more specific things or a little more fancy, um, or things that cost a little bit more money, but we don't have to. We can always just start with the bare bones basics. So in the
Mhm.
check system, we call it the six foundations, the four doctors. There's a lot of models we use in the system to help us, you know, guide clients, basic education on health, and then what areas will make the most impact, but most importantly, what are you, uh, you know, the person, the client, what are you willing to do, right? Like Paul always says, the best exercise in the world is the one you're willing to do,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Like I
It's
can make
better
an
than not
awesome
doing anything,
program.
right?
Yeah, I can make an awesome program for you, but if you don't do it, then
Mm-hmm.
it's not really that awesome.
It's kind of
Yeah.
like Dr. Cassie Huckabee says. I don't know if you know who she is, and I'm now starting to wonder if she was something out of
Trained
Paul.
by Paul Check. Hmm.
Yeah, because she talks about her big mantra is your life is your medicine. Your life is your medicine. Live your life as your medicine. You don't take a vacation on your life and then on your medicine. Like you don't take a
Mhm.
vacation from eating what is healthy in your body or putting things that are healthy in your body or doing, those. It's just interesting. Her like whole dynamic and the way that she speaks sounds a lot like this. And it's
Mm.
beautiful.
I think it's really similar because she talks about if you go
Very.
on vacation, you know, what are you going to do if you don't have your supplements? If you don't have that, like, what are you like? She's big on your body heals itself. So it sounds
Yeah.
like similar foundations. Um, and so I guess let's dive into like the main thought processes of your beliefs from all your trainings and your mentors, which I have an idea of what those are, and it's very anti-mainstream, which I am as well. And I would say it's pretty anti-Western medicine as a whole, as a general whole. And it's more terrain based versus um germ theory based. That's a whole conversation in
Yeah, can we
itself.
talk about that? I want to know more about that too.
Should we dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Like what is the, I guess, what is the premise of that germ versus terrain, and what kind of, where do you lean and what makes you lean that way, I guess?
Yeah, and my beliefs and um, ideas of how things work have been totally flipped upside down. Probably, well, definitely since 2020, but you know, it started before that. Like I was following up Paul years before that.
Hmm.
He's who started to open up my world, my mind to like even nutrition. Because way back when I started as a personal trainer, I was still eating like mini wheats and skim milk for breakfast, you know? And like, you know, no shade to anyone who's doing that. It's just, you know better than you can choose better, right? But
Right.
I didn't know any better. I thought that was better than Fruit Loops, but
Right.
you know what I mean? And now like oh my gosh, I would never eat that. Um, so my mind and my beliefs have changed a lot on a lot of things. Um, and it's interesting that a lot of the mentors I've found over the years, even though they're not directly connected necessarily, they all do have similar things in common. Like even Paul Chek has a healing fungal and parasite course that I've done. So like as a Chek practitioner, you have to do this course.
Mm.
And
Wow, that's
doing
interesting.
that course, I had a certain belief of fungus and parasite infections. And
Hmm.
now I have a completely different belief which is even different than Paul's, but it still works because even though in Paul's system, he's still viewing, fungus, bacteria, candida, parasites, etc., as, the bad guys and as an infection. I don't believe that anymore. But his approach to solving it was still terrain based, meaning he wasn't, okay, we got to kill the germs, we got to kill the parasites. His approach was, are you drinking enough water? Are you getting enough sleep? How is your breathing? Are you walking 10,000 steps a day? Are you eating sugar every day? Let's cut out the sugar. Let's cut out the crap. Like, basically, let's optimize your terrain, meaning your body's overall health. And then, for one, you'll have more energy to deal with any type of detox you then, put your body through. And number two, if you're a healthier body, you're not as appealing to those critters, right? That's kind of his approach. Now, my thoughts are a little bit different on that now. I think still, yeah, terrain based. Let's optimize the health of the body through the foundations: breathing, thinking, moving, sleeping, hydration, nutrition. Now I've added other things into that: lymphatic system, your light environment, stuff like that. And if you do that, the bacteria, parasites, fungus, etc., are not needed, because I don't see them as necessarily bad things that are attacking us. Because I'm more of the mindset now of like symbiosis and cooperation, not this battle, right? If you take a step back and look at things, right, especially in the medical system, it's all very like
Fighting disease.
yeah, and like
Yeah.
anti this and fight this, and it's all very warmongering kind of terminology. And we're always the victims of, bad germs and bad luck and bad bad
Genes.
genetics, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big one. Genes.
So if you're this helpless victim, what are you going to do? You have no power, right? You're just at the whim of, maybe big pharma will come save you, or you just pray for good luck or something. But so now I think, yeah, that these bugs and whatnot are actually trying to help balance our body. And if we can get our body into a more balanced state, then we don't need these parasites, bacteria, etc. So two quick examples. You can go on, well, not Google, but go on a search engine, and you can find they have done numerous studies where they have like temporarily cured things like Crohn's disease with actually infecting the person with a parasite. So the person's sick, they have Crohn's, the doctor gives them a parasite, the Crohn's goes away. Right? So there's like, well, and I heard that like 10 plus years ago, and that was in the back of my mind. Like, that's interesting.
I feel
And
like
then,
that's similar to homeopathy a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you know anything about homeopathy, but that premise is taking a little bit of like what's wrong with you to fix what's wrong with you is kind of similar.
yeah, perhaps, right? I don't know exactly, yeah, what that parasite is doing to help the situation, but it seemed to. And one of my, I have a lot of like weird things I like to research and read about. One of them, which is the mineral sulfur, and its role in our physiology and biology. And I think it's like the most important nutrient nobody is talking about.
Wow.
And I've found some different people out there that are also in this space. There's not many people. Dr. Greg Nye is one of them. He wrote a book called The Devil in the Garlic, which is all about the mineral sulfur and how it's like what it does for our body and what happens to our body when it's not when we can't process that mineral. And so one of the things that can happen is we can actually acquire or create SIBO, which a lot of people have these days, SIBO stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And people can't get rid of this. They go to their doctor doesn't know what to do. They go to their naturopath, the naturopath gives them antibiotics. It comes back. They go back, get more antibiotics, it comes back. And they're just in this loop. I had a client who was not when I was with her, because I would have got her to stop this, but her naturopath years ago had her on antibiotics for a year.
Oh, a
Wow.
naturopath did.
Right?
That's
Like,
crazy.
clearly this is not the right solution. So in this case, the bacteria are actually trying to help your body deal with the sulfur, because we need to change sulfur into sulfate in the body. If we can't do that, we end up with problems. So the bacteria come in, make hydrogen sulfide gas, which can then diffuse easily through the body and be easily changed into sulfate. But there is a catch, because long term that will cause problems. The hydrogen sulfide gas will cause problems. So just like the parasites and the other bacteria, I'm not saying they're good. I'm saying they have a purpose. And we just have to rethink like what's happening, and work on the terrain. Stop this. Let's kill them. Let's eradicate them, because that's not working. That doesn't work in nature either. And we are nature, so we should probably learn from nature. So yeah, it's just this totally different approach to, well, to lots of things, but in terms of germ theory, yeah, this idea that there's good germs and bad germs, and if we have bad germs, we need to kill them. I think it's just obvious now that I know this, now that I can see it, that that's not working. And we need to go back to what nature is teaching us, and it's all about terrain. So just like if you put meat in your compost, it's going to grow maggots. It didn't get infected with maggots. You put the wrong thing in there. And now there's consequences, right?
Right.
I have a quick question before we continue on this path, because I want to keep going on this. And I want to keep talking about the germ versus terrain. But side note, did I see something on your Instagram that tied sulfate to autism, whether it was creating it or curing it?
Yeah. I'm definitely no autism expert, but I have studied glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup, like extensively. Like Stephanie Seneff, who's the expert in glyphosate, she wrote the book Toxic Legacy, all about it. I've probably listened to, I don't
A
even know,
million
like
podcasts. You're like a
hundreds and
walking
hundreds of
encyclopedia.
hours of her. Yeah, like literally, and many of them on repeat, because she's a hardcore scientist who's a challenge to follow, and she speaks a mile a minute. So a lot of my information on these topics with sulfur anyways comes from her and Dr. Greg Nye, and she's pretty adamant that there is a huge connection between well, not just kids anymore, also adults, but kids with severe autism. And I mean what we used to call autism, not neurodivergence, not not you have autism and you have a job and a car. I mean like severe autism, that the kids are, brain damaged and disabled and can't live their own, not, independent life. That these kids have a sulfate problem. They have a significantly low amount of sulfate in the body. But through her book, she's like, whole bunch of conditions are low in sulfate. And I think it's just showing up differently in different people, because we've all been exposed to this chemical glyphosate for decades now. And it's a slow cumulative poison.
Does it kill off does glyphosate kill off the sulfate, or what's the
It's
connection?
it's it's a train wreck for sulfate. Like
Okay.
it wrecks it in every possible way. It's a mineral chelator, so it is depleting the minerals, all the minerals, but including sulfur in the soil, is depleting sulfur in the foods, so in the plants or in the animals. It's it's a antibiotic, so it's killing our gut microbes,
Mm.
which are needed to convert sulfur into sulfate. It also wrecks the ability for sulfate to move around the body because it has to move around, and it can't move around easily, freely, because this is the cool thing that ties into structured water. Sulfate gels liquids. So, meaning, if you don't know what I'm talking about, structured water, there's 4 phases of water, not just 3. Like I said, lots of things that I used to think were true are not. So we know there's liquid, solid, and gas forms of water, but apparently there's many other forms, more than 4 actually, but I only really know mostly about this 4th one, which is H3O2. It's one of the reasons that's my business name, H3O2 Training, because I'm a nerd. So and I'm just so fascinated with this topic. So sulfur, when it's in the form of sulfate, which is like an activated form, it gels liquids. So it'll make like water into like jello kind of consistency, which makes it difficult to move around the body. So it has to partner up with things. It has to be, it partners up with hormones. It partners up with neurotransmitters. It partners up with things in the body, and then they help each other move around. It partners up with cholesterol. Like it's a huge topic. And yeah, it's absolutely necessary for our blood to flow, because our blood flows because of the structured water and the physics, the biophysics of this special phase of water is what actually moves the blood. It's not the heart pumping that moves the blood. It's a bit more
That's a
complicated.
huge statement right there.
Yeah.
We're just shutting down all the common beliefs about health.
Yeah, like I said, once you start to get in to one of these topics, and then you start to see the connections, it's like, holy crap, there's so much here. And it, for me, I think it's super exciting. And
Mhm.
why? Because, if you don't know what a car is made of, and you don't know how a car works, how are you going to fix it? So same
Yeah.
with us, and we're much more complicated and complex than a car. For one, we're not a physical machine, right? We're physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic, magnetic, probably lots
Mhm.
of other things, right? But if
Liquid
we don't
crystals.
know, if we don't know what we're made of, and we don't know how we actually work, like the heart, maybe that's why heart disease is still the #1 killer, because mainstream medicine still thinks the heart is a mechanical propulsion pump when it's not. Like,
Mm.
It's magnetic.
it just makes sense to me of like, oh, well, that's probably why they haven't done a good job of helping people with heart issues, because they're still telling people that saturated fat clogs your arteries and that's what causes heart attacks. And that's complete nonsense.
Can I just share a quick side note? Last week, maybe I shouldn't share this. No, I don't think that they'll see. A friend and like I might offend somebody. Fuck it. That's what I do, I guess, right? So I was invited to a demonstration, a vegan demonstration. I'm not vegan, and I don't want to poo-poo on that whole diet as a whole. But this woman was telling us that salt is bad, and she was clearly overweight and not healthy, and she was preaching vegan diet and don't eat salt, and it's like the total opposite of what we know and discuss. And it's just amazing that a lot of these mainstream beliefs about health, even amongst people that are somewhat awake, it's mind blowing. And I think that's because some of those main thought processes of even germ versus terrain theory, if you're not getting that right, you can't get it all. It's not going to be fully correct. You're not even having the right thought process. But yeah, I'm still learning, and I learn from you too, but it's mind-blowing how many lies we've been told about health. And I don't really think that's by mistake, because you know, it's a multi-billion dollar industry, the healthcare, the sick care system and the big, big pharma. So it's
Oh
And it
yeah.
crazy.
goes back to people not, they just don't know anything else. And so they've been
Yeah.
told
Mhm.
XYZ and they don't dig any further really until you actually get sick. And then
Mm,
you don't have any other option. And then it's like, okay, and even some people don't do that. So it's layered as to waking up to all this, I feel like too, you know?
yeah. And then
Like
it's like
anything else.
your sources that you trust are wrong. Like you trust your doctor. And then when you're training to be a doctor, you trust the, you
The
know,
train
the medical training, the schooling, right? The
that
schooling
teaches you
curriculum.
nothing about nutrition at all.
Yeah, and
Right.
so you think, and then you think Google is going to be accurate and not censor the truth, and so you hop on there. And what did I look up earlier? Oh, I was looking up the lady you told me about, who helps solutions with autism. We got to be careful what we say. And right
Mhm.
under her, the first thing that pops up, there's like conspiracy ladies telling you to drink bleach because they put out these lies on purpose so that people that believe what they see on Google are going to be like, oh, okay, that's not true, right? So it's
Mhm.
understanding that all of your sources are of information are false.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. And, I do think like most medical doctors have good intentions.
Yeah.
Uh, I just think what they're learning is untrue. And that's a hard pill to swallow because they spent how many years and hundreds of thousands of dollars and like so many sleepless nights, like there's a reason they put them on 24-hour shifts, right? It's like the military. They kind of beat them into
Wow.
submission, right? And beat them into um kind of being slaves
Television.
to that system.
Yep.
And then when they come out the other side, they're like, oh, finally I made it out. Finally I can start to make an income and start to put what I learned to use and start to help people. I can't imagine, like, it would be really difficult to accept that what you paid to learn was totally not true and actually quite harmful to people. And look at all the stuff you didn't learn, like nutrition, just the basics, which blows my mind because most people have heard of like scurvy. People don't really have that problem anymore, but that's death by one nutrient deficiency, right? Vitamin C. If you're deficient in one nutrient, you can die. And it's not the only one, right? There's also beriberi, which is vitamin B1, which, by the way, I think is a massive problem. And it's a sleeper epidemic that, again, not many people are talking about. And yet they don't teach doctors about nutrition, like, because and they don't believe in supplements, but they think because we started to fortify food decades ago that there's no deficiency problems in first world countries. That's only for third world countries. And
Mm,
that's not true because you can definitely be overfed and malnourished,
Yes.
yeah.
right? Like that's kind of, I think, the
Hmm.
epitome of the North American diet.
Yeah. Big time. Um, so let's kind of, if you like, cater this last portion to, I want to talk about what are some of the main health issues you're seeing repeatedly, mostly with your clients, and then what are the biggest tips you have? And I also want to remind anyone that's watching, feel free to ask questions, health questions, or drop your questions in the chat and we'll do our best to get to them. But yeah, let's talk about what you're seeing the most and what are your like, biggest tips that people can start to implement. So one, what are you mostly seeing in like, is there a common thread in most, is it mostly women you work with or?
Yes, yeah, mostly women. I was at a women's gym at Good Life, and then I do see men at the clinic here I'm at, and then the clinic before. Um, and so I have had quite a wide variety of clientele. Um,
Mhm.
but common issues, um, pain. people with pain and they don't know what to do, whether, it's kind of chronic back pain is a very common one, or like, quote, bad hips, bad knees, etc. And
Mhm.
people don't know what to do about it, and their doctor doesn't know anything about that, right? If you have like an ache or a pain in the body, your doctor's not going to be able to help you. They might give you like pain meds, but that's it. Like you'd be better off to go see like a chiropractor, an osteopath, or Czech practitioner, someone who's trained in like the physical structure of the body, who knows posture, who knows movements, who can assess your breathing, your core function, how are you walking, right? Because that could be the issue, but it could also be your diet. That's why you want someone with a holistic mindset who understands that what you're eating could be causing your back pain.
I feel like they're really quick also, just to touch on that, they're really quick to just say get surgery. Like I have a friend that just had surgery again yesterday, and it's like every problem is just surgery. There's no other solution. And the more I dive into health, the more I'm like, oh my God, you almost never need surgery. Like you can
Yeah,
heal anything. That's blowing my mind is wow.
yeah, and it does seem to be more. I don't know if it's true or not, but I just kind of get the gist that it seems that there's more surgery in the United States than in Canada, just because of our different medical systems.
Right.
Um, like, because here, if you need surgery, you're going to be waiting months to years, even though
You're
it's
dead.
free. Yeah, good luck getting it when you need. But
Mm,
yes, surgery, well, just like anything in medicine, there's a time and a place. But surgery is definitely often overdone, and back surgery would be a last resort, because you would not believe the horror stories I have heard from, my Czech, uh, my teachers, Paul and his faculty members. Uh,
mhm.
Brutal. So yeah, try to avoid the surgery if you can. Like I
Yeah.
said, uh, last resort for that. Um, Also, obviously, a lot of people, even before 2020, mental health has been a big issue for people. Hormonal issues. I noticed a few years ago that it seemed that everyone under the age of 30 was like really struggling with anxiety, and everyone over the age of 40, women, were on like thyroid medication. Like every
Wow.
single woman I met. Uh,
Crazy.
and then all the men, they're all on statins, cholesterol medication, blood pressure medication, right? So seeing these patterns of hormonal issues, mental health issues, pain. Now I'm seeing, and it could just be the algorithms on phones and whatnot, but
Mhm.
um, there does, and Stephanie Sneff talks about it, the glyphosate expert. There's a growing trend, not trend, a growing problem of connective tissue problems,
Hmm.
and I myself have some connective tissue weakness. And they used to say it was a genetic problem, right? Because whenever they don't know what something is, they're like, oh, it's just genetics. Like, well,
Mhm.
except that genetics doesn't, exponentially get worse in a short amount of time. Like, it's just impossible. Something is causing this. And I think the something is the glyphosate, because it's wrecking your sulfur and it's wrecking your glycine, and you need those to build connective tissue. Uh, and there's probably other factors too, right? Fluoride's a bad one. EMFs are a bad one. Just overall stress. We are under a lot of stress these days. So, stubborn weight, like stubborn weight that people can't get rid of the weight. That's also a common one. And again, I think a lot of that has to do with toxicity and trauma. But it's been
Mhm.
nice to see the past couple years, like there's been a boom of people talking about trauma, which I think is fantastic, because
You mean like
no one ever,
physical
like
trauma
like I
or
mean,
emotional or both?
doesn't matter,
Both.
any of it. Yeah,
Both,
trauma.
because you feel it in your body, and weight is
Yeah.
energy, so you're protecting yourself from
Yeah,
what's
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at some point, whether it was physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever, some sort of trauma, and it could have been a one-time thing, it could be cumulative over time, and it's just a chronic fight flight situation. If you're in a chronic fight flight, your cortisol is chronically elevated and you are not going to lose weight. It's just as simple
Mm,
as that. You have to get your stress bucket down, you have to get your cortisol down, then the weight
yeah.
will come down, right? But people struggle with that because again, these um, old beliefs like calories in, calories out, which I never bought into, even when I was just like a regular personal trainer, it didn't make sense to me because it I didn't see it, in front of me. Like for some people, yeah,
Yeah.
they ate less and worked out more, their weight would change. But then I would have women who were severely under eating and
Mm,
working out all the time and they're just gaining weight, right?
yeah.
I'm like, this that whole equation didn't make sense. And now I know it's just total BS.
Hmm.
And it's unfortunate because again, it's keeping people trapped in a system. And
Yeah.
it's not good. Yeah.
Yeah. There's
Sorry,
a
what
lot
was
of unhealthy beliefs I find in like the fitness, uh,
yeah.
like loss field. Oh my
I have a
goodness.
question. How do you get rid of the what was it called? Glucophosphate, whatever.
Glyphosate.
Yeah, glyphosate. That's the one.
The
How do you get
glyphs
rid of that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Something that I've been wanting to do is like for myself, and I want to do it for myself and then, suggest it if it works, suggest it to clients. I just haven't done like a full protocol myself. But step one is eat organic food to reduce the amount of glyphosate that you are consuming. And that's basically all your food because glyphosate is everywhere. You'll find it the least in fruits and vegetables, but all your grains, all your nuts and seeds, beans, legumes, lentils, it's
Wow.
freaking everywhere. It's
Yeah.
you can't wash it off. So do your best to buy organic. Apple cider vinegar is really great. Like, and that's good for your digestion as well. So take a teaspoon to a tablespoon with a little bit of water, 15 minutes before a meal. Really, really good for your gut. The bacteria in the apple cider vinegar help to eat up or break down the glyphosate. What else? Humic fulvic acids have been shown to be really fantastic. I haven't used Beam, BEAM, but that's on my radar. I want to try that. I have used Dr. Zach Bush's product in the past called Restore. I don't know what it's called now. It was Ion Biome. I think it's something different now. But any type of good quality humic fulvic acid, sauerkraut, and or sauerkraut juice. So kind of any probiotic food, fermented food that's good for your gut microbiome is going to be helpful.
What is
Uh,
bean?
Beam, it's yeah, it's a brand, humic
Oh,
fulvic acid.
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They did a good podcast about it, specifically about glyphosate with Dave Asprey a year or so
Mm,
more.
okay.
Um, and then just general, again, looking at your general terrain, right? Your overall health, like making sure your bowels are healthy, that you're going to the bathroom 1 to 3 times a day, that you're drinking enough water to stay hydrated, although there's a lot more to hydration than just drinking water. That
Mm,
you are sweating uh, often enough, whether that's through exercise or through like an infrared sauna, something
Yeah.
like that can be really
That was gonna
great.
be my next question. The sauna.
Yeah. And then you can get into a little bit more aggressive detox options. Like I haven't done it yet, but again, it's on my list to do. Is coffee enemas are
mm.
fantastic for your liver, fantastic for detoxification. It's an ancient tradition. So I know it sounds weird and gross, but the people I know that do them, like absolutely swear by them, and it's the best thing they've ever done.
Yeah,
So,
I follow a nurse that is big, big on it.
mm,
I
yeah,
need to add that to the list. I'm doing so much though. I'll put that on the list.
yeah, it's supposed to be one of the best things we can do. Um,
Mm.
Yeah, there's a lot, which is the good news. Like I said, the system makes us think that we're just helpless victims, but I think we have so many options, and a lot of them are free. Getting out in nature, right?
Hmm.
Drinking water isn't the only way you can be hydrated. Breath work, touching the earth, getting your feet on the ground, the more the better. Getting out in sunlight. Sunlight hitting your skin is going to actually create sulfate in your body.
Hmm.
Sulfate creates the structured water. Structured water is what's actually hydrating your cells. The water you're drinking is mostly just like irrigation, but to get your cells in your tissues hydrated, we have to do other things. We have to get in the sun or get in a red light or an infrared sauna. We have to touch, get a massage, do some foam rolling. We have to move, exercise your body, dance, foam roll, shake and wiggle, whatever. Like, there's so many different ways that we can help our body balance itself out and therefore, heal. And one of the um, taglines, or I don't know, in the Czech system is heal faster than you injure. And
Hmm.
considering even when we're trying to live a fairly healthy life, I'm still in this synthetic home. Synthetic
Yeah.
meaning like, it's not a wood timber home. It's like
Right.
fake wood floors and glues and shit, and
Hmm.
just the chemicals in this.
LED lights and all that crap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So we're always, yes, being challenged. So we just have to get ahead of it, right? If we can, and ideally be, a ways ahead of it, but even just a little
Hmm.
bit ahead of what we're injuring, and then if we choose to injure ourselves, which we all do, because life should be, I'm all about the 80-20, right? 80% of the time, really dial in everything, and then give yourself a little bit of leeway, give yourself some fun, give yourself some time off. I don't think that food is only fuel. For example, food can also be a social thing. Food can also be a fun thing. It's just when we flip it, when it's 80-20, the other way around, that we get into
Hmm.
trouble. So that kind of balance is a big part of my belief system and the way I work. And
Yeah.
yeah, it all comes together. So I try to help encourage people to do these simple, free things, like go outside for a walk at sunrise.
Hmm.
Like, that might not be
Favorite.
an option to you based on your work or whatnot. Well, okay, can you go at lunchtime? No? Okay, can you go at sundown? Like, you could probably get out for
Yeah.
one of those three times. And why those three times? Because of our light environment. There's different reasons why we want to get sunlight at different times of the day, but those three times are like kind of peak health optimizing times. I get into this in more detail in one of my courses.
Love it.
Yeah, I pretty much am in the routine now. I get out of bed and I don't turn any lights on, no unnatural light. And if it's already, past sunrise or about to be sunrise, I go outside on the patio, even if it's in the rain, because I could hear you in my mind. I'm like, okay, well, it's raining, but it's cloudy, but I'm gonna get some natural light. And I go and I stand out there, even if it's cold, whatever, and I would just get a little natural light. And then when I go back inside, when I put the lights on, I put my real blockers on, which are more yellow than what I have on now. And then I go about my day. And then when the sun comes down, I change to the dark ones like you're wearing. Okay, so my mom actually figured out how to get on this live today. Congrats, mom. She's got a couple questions.
Yay, mom.
Yeah.
My mom needs some help. Okay, so first she just said castor oil with a question mark, like,
Oh, she was talking about like detoxing
oh,
all the bad
so
stuff.
Castor
do you
oil
want
is
to say
great.
anything?
Yeah. Don't use it internally unless you know what you're doing, because it's a very, very potent laxative. So it's usually not used internally, and it also will stimulate labor if anyone's pregnant. So again, don't use it unless you know what you're doing.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but normally, yeah, you use it topically, and then that can be great for helping to balance your hormones, helping with the liver congestion, which then kind of helps everything, right? Because your liver is your main kind of hub for detoxification. So anything we can do to help the liver will help everything. Castor oil also seems to just really help improve blood flow in general, and anything to help the flow of anything in the body, the flow of blood, lymph, water through the fascia, uh, energy through the body, light through our meridians, vibration through our fascia. Any way that we can help that flow, that's going to help our body heal and continue to thrive.
Yeah, I should.
Love it.
I'm thinking of all the routines that you have me do. Um, the lymph massages, everything. Um, what else
I
did
do
she
that when
say?
I'm
She
in a sauna. Like I
do
go to
some.
sauna almost every day and like rubbing, like pressing down, down, and then in here and up through my legs. Yeah, that's my routine in the
Yeah,
sauna.
that's a good idea in the sauna.
Mhm.
Um, trying to just see what else. Okay, so my mom, she said, talk about hydration. You kind of did.
No, she
Do you
said
want to
thanks
add?
for the hydration info.
And then she
Next.
said, thanks for the I mean, that's a whole
Yeah, that's what
wide topic in itself, but
she says.
yeah.
Freeze-dried food versus fresh. How much, if anything, does the food lose in the process?
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, you obviously lose the water, right? You lose the hydration. So, um, you're so you'll have to probably drink more water, but not with the food. That's a little digestion tip that not everyone knows. When you're eating food, you don't want to have much fluids because it's going to dilute your stomach acid and then make it actually harder to digest the food. So if you're eating freeze-dried foods, beef jerky, these kinds of things, you will just want to make sure you have a little bit more liquid, before or after, like 30 minutes before or an hour afterwards, just so you're getting enough fluids in the body. Um, Now that
And it
said,
should be,
you do want a
I was
good
just
balance. Like you don't want to have your diet too full of like dehydrated foods because that's an imbalance. A little bit is fine, but if like all your fruit is dried, all your meat is, dried into jerky, all you're eating like grains that have been made into crackers and stuff, right? If it's a very dry diet, you're going to have an imbalance, and that gets a little bit into like Chinese medicine of wet and dry foods and the yin and the yang and all of that. I'm not that well versed in their system, but I know a little bit of it, and they look a lot about that, right? The different elements: earth, fire, wind, water, etc., and they kind of attach these things to different foods. So
Mhm.
you want to be careful of, you don't want to only eat like wet foods. You don't want to only eat dry foods. You don't want to only eat hot foods. Like we want to have a good variety.
I think she meant for emergency, like those are like prepper foods, like your freeze dried stuff. I mean, but if it's like straight up apocalypse, whatever, I mean,
Yeah.
my prepper foods aren't going to be like, I'm definitely not going to be following my macros.
No.
I think it's just going to be like, let's survive through this. But, and obviously, do you want to quickly, or I don't even know if this is quick to quickly, are you guys still there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, my mom just messaged me the podcast ended. No, maybe it did for you.
That looks good from here.
Yeah.
Um, like a couple tips on like water, like structure and minerals or no?
What do you mean, like how to structure your drinking water, or?
Yeah, and mineralize it so that it's, more hydrating.
Yeah, so I just quickly, my current knowledge of this, which is very open to changing because it's a very new topic to even those who are researching this. Um,
Mm.
Ideally, we would be drinking natural spring water that is bubbling up from the earth by itself. It's purified, it's alive, and it's full of minerals. That's very rare for us to be able to go do that. And if you have that opportunity, that's one of the best things you can do for your health, for sure, is to
Yeah.
drink that water and if possible, bathe in that water. Like all these
Mm.
healing springs around the world,
Yeah.
if I was like really, really sick, I would be planning all of my vacations, or just going to these healing centers around the world with these mineral spas, like natural ones. I don't mean like, some fancy spa. Like I went to one when I was in Florida. I was excited. I was like, oh my God, I learned there's a whole bunch of natural mineral springs in Florida. I had no idea. And one of the oldest was right in Tampa where I was. And, they created a spa around it and it started 100 years ago or something. But when I showed up, I learned they freaking pump it full of chlorine.
No.
Like, ugh.
I wonder
So,
if they do that at the one near me. They might.
Wow.
Jeez.
so I was like, well, I'm here. I biked all the way here in the friggin' sweltering heat, and fuck it, I'm going in, and I'm just going to focus on the healing minerals and just ignore the freaking chlorine.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so if you don't have access to that water, um, whatever water you want to get, whatever water you have, you want it to be sure it's pure. It's clean of chemicals. So if you're on a well or you're on city water, tap water, then you have to get it tested to know what's in it. So then to know what kind of filter to get. Or if you don't want to do that and you just want to get everything out of it, then go for reverse osmosis or a distiller to distill your water. But if you do that, distillation or reverse osmosis, now your water is naked, it's empty. It doesn't have anything in it. So it'll just go right through you. And quite possibly, there's some debate on this, but quite possibly start taking minerals with it. Start taking your minerals. So that's not good. So I recommend that you supplement with minerals, real natural minerals, not synthetic ones and not individual ones, but so either Celtic sea salt or something like a plasma water, so Keton or whatever the brand is that they sell on Dr. Cowan's website. It's literally salt water, ocean water, but it's from these special plankton blooms off the coast of Spain, where there's like two types of plankton, and they I don't know, they meet up and they clash together and they swirl around and they make some sort of vortex, and the water going through the plankton, that's the water they capture. And because it's gone through the plankton, it's now bioavailable to us. Whereas just normal seawater isn't. So just like minerals in the soil, we can't just go eat a mouthful of soil and get our minerals. We have to eat those minerals once they've come through a plant or once an animal has eaten that soil, eaten the grass that's in the soil, right? It has to like, I don't know if transmutation is the right word, but it has to go through some steps before we can absorb it. So that plasma water is fantastic. It's not super cheap. So Celtic sea salt might be another great option for those people that if you can't do Keton every day or the plasma water every day, get Celtic sea salt and just put some. Like if this is reverse osmosis water. I just put a sprinkle in. How much? If it tastes salty, you put too much. So don't put, just back off a little. And then you want to structure it and energize it. You can energize it just with your own thoughts and intention and, love. As woo-woo as that sounds, it's legitimate because water is the absolute most powerful absorber of all energy and information, including your thoughts, including your feelings. And Dr. Emoto, Veda Austin have shown this to be true without a shadow of a doubt. And it's pretty freaking phenomenal. So you can do that. You can also invest in different things. I always have my water here beside me, and I have it on this charging plate. It's a biogeometry charging plate. So it helps to balance the energies.
I have crystals in the bottom of mine.
Right on.
That probably does something similar, I imagine.
Yeah, crystals can be useful. And then to structure it, it needs to be vortexed. So there's different gadgets out there you can get that will vortex your water. I have an analemma wand. I don't have it right here, but it's like, you know, kind of pen shaped, and it's full of water. It's full of mother water that's been exposed to the sun, the moon, the stars for, I forget if it's 1 year or 2 years. So it has all the energy from each day of the year, like inside the wand. So it does two things. It energizes your water just through resonance, because when you stick it in your water, it will energize the water that's around it. And then when you stir, you create a vortex, and the vortex motion helps to structure the water. That's what our heart does to our blood, by the way. It actually is vortexing the blood, which energizes it, and then it moves along.
That's
so
cool.
That's kind of in a nutshell how I go about structuring and energizing drinking water. Because yeah, it's super duper important. Unless you can get straight out of the earth, clean spring water, that's the best.
And you can go to Find a Spring. I think it's called findaspring.org. There's one that's like an hour from me. I need to go now that I think everything's melted. Hopefully this spring isn't frozen. But yeah, findaspring.org, I think, is that site you can look up what's close to you. And what's that charging thing you have? Where
Where do you get that?
This is from Biogeometry.
Biogeometry.
So that's the brand?
Yes, I suppose. It's also a whole new science, the science of quality, discovered by Ibrahim Karim out of Egypt. I can't really explain much more than that because it's way over.
No worries. I was wondering if there was a brand because I want to look it up.
Yeah, so if you just go biogeometry.com, I think you'll get to the website. And so I also have the ring. I don't know if you can see it, but it's kind of blurry, but there's like little squiggles on it.
Oh yeah.
So those are biogeometry signatures. And I'm supposed to be wearing a necklace with it, but I lost it. So those are to help harmonize my organs, the energies of my organs.
Wow.
It all has to do with subtle energies around us. It's kind of like feng shui, but way more advanced, and I think there are some differences. And yeah, it's I have a lot to learn about it, and I will, because Paul is so obsessed with it. He is actually incorporating it into the Czech curriculum.
Oh wow.
He's had Ibrahim Karim and his daughter on his podcast at least 3 times now. And all of them are like way over my head. But that was also a few years ago. So if I re-listen now, I think I'd pick up a lot more.
We've never talked about this, Ashley. That's interesting.
I also have this cube that is also biogeometry. So you can see those little marks on it. Those are it's etched with like thousands of little markings. And so I have this over here, and you're supposed to charge it, clear it on one of these plates every day. Same, my ring, I'm supposed to
that reminds me of like charging crystals. That's kind of
Yeah,
Wow,
interesting. Okay.
Paul's all about the crystals, so
love it.
he's very, yes, woo woo, as you say.
We're
Um,
pretty woo here, so.
Yes, we are.
yeah, I'll send you Paul's video. See his water charger. If you think what I said was a lie, you see what he does for his water.
Oh,
It's
you know what? If you
next level.
remember, Ashley, if you remember, or if you send it to me, I can post it in this chat. If you
Sure,
send
yeah,
it to me, I can post it, or if you remember,
yeah,
that'd be awesome just to piggyback on this.
yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah, so wow, there's so much stuff there. I let's wrap up the recorded version. We're already going slightly over an hour. I want to respect your time, and then we can hang out just for a couple minutes to see if there's any last minute questions in the Facebook chat. So if you're watching on Facebook, get your health questions together, put it in there. We'll see if we can get to a couple questions. But just to kind of wrap up, um, tell everyone like what you're working on, where they can find you.
Yeah, so I do coaching, yeah, in person here, up in Canada. If anyone's in the Kingston, Ontario area, I also coach clients via Zoom, and I just launched a new Patreon membership yesterday. So it's half price this month, and I'll bump up to full price next month, but it's quite affordable. So this month it's only $7 Canadian, which is like $4 for you guys in the States.
It's insane.
Um, for the basic tier one, which is tell me the tell me tier. So those who are just interested in like, okay, just get to the point and tell me what to do and just stick to the foundations. And then I have a teach me tier, which this month will be 1050. Next month it'll go up to 21, and that is more for those who are interested to learn more, want to have more of the education, want more resources to do your own, research, do your own homework. So that first tier will have 2 calls a month, and the other one will have 5 calls a month.
Wow.
Plus,
Wow.
you'll get access to everything in my Patreon, which I'm going to flood it with information that I've been collecting for years. And now I finally have a place that I can have everything in one spot. So my content that I've created, but also other people's content, like videos from Paul and
Mm.
podcasts from Tom Cowan and articles from Glyphosate Girl and whatever, right? I'm going to have everything in one place, and it's all going to be organized and searchable, and it's private too. So I don't believe we have to worry about certain things.
That
Um, I think that's the way it is with Patreon. So yeah, you can check that out. And
Awesome. And that's Canadian dollars, right? So 7 for the lower tier, which is really like 4. And then the higher tier is like 1050, which is like what, $6 or $7, and then bumps up to like what, like
yeah,
$14 because we get the discount because we're in the US.
yeah,
So
it's right now I just have everything set up through Canadian prices, just for now. So it's a good discount for you guys in the US. Sorry for my fellow Canadians, you have to pay Canadian prices. And the taxes will be included in the price, and I'll have to figure that out myself. So yeah, it'll
how
just
can
be
people find your Patreon? And can we put the link in this chat in the Facebook group? And then well,
yeah, definitely.
what
I can
is
send links.
is it
So
an easy link to remember? I can also list it on here on YouTube and Rumble.
yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but my handle is the same for everything. So H302 training. So if you just
Mhm.
search that in Patreon, you can find it. Same on
Okay.
Instagram. That's where I'm the most active on Instagram, and now also going to be on Patreon.
Mm,
I do have a Facebook page, but I'm rarely I'm using that more for my local stuff, for my classes and stuff here.
mhm.
Um, and yeah, that's kind of, I do have a website with a few blogs if you are interested in some of the topics I talked about today: structured water, sulfate, the heart is not a pump. I have blogs on those, and I will be putting those in Patreon as well.
Awesome.
So awesome.
Thank you for being here. And just to kind of wrap up, what do you want to leave us with?
Yeah.
Hmm. I don't know. Well, I feel like I didn't really answer your question earlier. Some of the best things people can do for, their health.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think if you're lucky enough to live near a beach, then walking barefoot on the beach, on the water's edge at sunrise and or sunset
Mm,
without glasses, no contacts, no sunglasses, just like naked eyes, uh, hitting the naked sky. That's one of the best things you can do, and doing it every day so that you're getting into a good rhythm, because your circadian rhythm, your internal clock, is so incredibly important. So if you don't live near the ocean, just still try to walk at sunrise or sunset, and get some grounding. If you can't walk barefoot on the ground where you live, then at least just stand on the ground outside your front door in your backyard, whatever, for as long as you can. Any amount of time is better than none. 45 minutes is what you want to reach for if you have a lot of pain, if you have a lot of inflammation. And then, yeah, just getting outside and walking every day. Like, I live here by a trail. Uh, Even my last house, where there was like thousands and thousands of houses, it was shocking how few people use the trail on a regular basis. Like,
mm.
and most people around here are able, like, they're not, in wheelchairs, like they can walk. No, and even people that own dogs don't seem to walk their dogs. Like, it blows my mind. And if you go to YouTube, type in 23 and a half hours, there's a little like 10-20 minute video all about the immense benefits of just walking for 30 minutes a day to blow your mind. Like, and it's a
Yeah.
really
I've been
cool
trying to do that.
cartoon video. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So getting outside,
Awesome.
walking, and then sleep. Sleep's a huge one. So yeah, it's coming up to my bedtime here for sure. And that's actually going to be my monthly challenge in my Patreon group, is to be in bed by 10 p.m. at the latest. So I may fail
Oh,
that tonight, but I think I have reason, so it's all good.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here, Ashley. This has been awesome.
It's
Um,
so awesome. You're such a wealth of information and knowledge, and I feel like we could have talked to you for 5 more hours.
yeah, for real. This is
Thank
what we
you.
do in our sessions, and it's like, oh shoot, our time is way over now. Um, but yeah, thank you so much. And if you're on Facebook, hang out for a moment. We'll hang out just for a minute after the recording. That's the benefits of being in the Facebook group. So definitely join the Facebook group. And please like and subscribe on YouTube, Rumble. Find us on Instagram. It's Sovereign AF Podcast. We'd love to connect with you. We have different content over there. And thank you guys so much for the support. And we will see you in next week's episode.
Bye, everyone.